Jonathan Osteen, the son of renowned televangelist Joel Osteen, has long been in the public eye, a prominent figure in the world of ministry, music, and family legacy. As the heir apparent to the leadership of Lakewood Church, Jonathan's journey has been one of both tremendous promise and immense pressure. His natural charisma, musical talent, and passion for ministry have positioned him as a central figure in the church's next generation. Yet, despite his achievements and rising fame, Jonathan's life has been thrust into turmoil due to a tragic and controversial incident that has shaken his family's foundation and the reputation of their church. The expectations of a legacy. Born into the spotlight, Jonathan Osteen was destined to be more than just the son of one of the most famous preachers in the world. His father, Joel Osteen, has long been known for his inspirational sermons, global reach, and messages of hope that resonate with millions. As the son of such a public figure, Jonathan was thrust into a life that many would dream of, yet one that came with its own unique set of challenges and pressures. Growing up at Lakewood Church, Jonathan was exposed to the world of ministry from a very young age. He learned the importance of faith, service, and public speaking, often by watching his father. Jonathan's early years were shaped by a constant awareness of his family's legacy. From a young age, he knew that his path would one day lead him into the limelight, and he sought to carve out his own role within the church. He developed a love for music and began to contribute to Lakewood's worship team alongside his sister, Alexandra. As a talented musician, Jonathan helped lead worship services, playing contemporary Christian music that resonated deeply with congregants. His musical prowess soon became a staple of the church's services, and his involvement in the worship ministry provided him with a platform to engage with the congregation. The family's success, however, came with expectations that were often too heavy for Jonathan to bear. He was frequently asked whether he would follow in his father's footsteps as the future leader of Lakewood Church. The comparisons between Jonathan and his father were inevitable, and as Jonathan took on more responsibilities in the church, the weight of these expectations only grew. His growing influence in the worship ministry and his ability to speak at various events positioned him as a potential successor to his father's pulpit. Though Jonathan himself did not always feel ready for such a daunting responsibility. A tragic incident, the car crash, that changed everything. In 2016, Jonathan's life took a tragic and unexpected turn. What began as an unfortunate accident on State Highway 35 in Texas would soon spiral into a legal and personal crisis that threatened to unravel his future and tarnish the reputation of his family. Jonathan was involved in a car crash that sent two victims, Tony Tran and Ki Vu, to the hospital. The crash occurred when Tran, who was driving southbound, slowed down to make a left-hand turn. Jonathan, who was also traveling in the same direction, allegedly rear-ended their vehicle with such force that it caused significant damage to their car. The victims were rushed to the hospital, where they were treated for their injuries. At first, the incident appeared to be just a tragic accident, something that could have happened to anyone. However, as details of the crash began to emerge, it became clear that there were more complexities involved. The victims, Tran and Vu, claimed that Jonathan's actions leading up to the crash were reckless and avoidable. According to their statements, Jonathan appeared to be distracted at the time of the collision, allegedly listening to music and texting on his phone. His failure to maintain a proper lookout and adjust his speed in response to the road conditions were cited as contributing factors to the crash. What made the situation even worse for Jonathan was the fact that there were no skid marks found at the scene, suggesting that he made no attempt to slow down or avoid the crash. The official report from the Texas Peace Officers' crash analysis confirmed that Jonathan's failure to control his speed was the primary cause of the collision. A lawsuit and its far-reaching consequences. In the aftermath of the crash, Tran and Vu decided to file a lawsuit against Jonathan, seeking over $1 million in damages for their pain, suffering, medical expenses, and lost wages. The lawsuit not only accused Jonathan of negligence, but also claimed that his actions were grossly irresponsible and reckless. As the details of the lawsuit unfolded, the situation took an even more complicated turn. Tran and Vu, seeking to hold the Osteen family accountable for Jonathan's actions, included Joel and Victoria Osteen, Jonathan's parents, in the lawsuit. They believed that Jonathan was acting on behalf of Lakewood Church at the time of the incident, and as such, they held the church leaders responsible for his actions. Although Joel and Victoria filed notices of non-suit to remove themselves from the lawsuit, the damage to their family's reputation was already done. The lawsuit became a media sensation, with critics questioning Jonathan's judgment and accusing the Osteen family of failing to instill strong values in their son. For many, this incident exposed a deep moral failure on the part of a family that had long been seen as an example of Christian integrity. The public's reaction was swift and unforgiving, with some commentators suggesting that Jonathan's careless behavior reflected poorly on the moral teachings of Lakewood Church and its leaders. A family in crisis. The aftermath of the car crash and the subsequent lawsuit have created a crisis not just for Jonathan, but for the entire Osteen family. The media frenzy surrounding the incident has cast a shadow over their ministry and reputation. People who once viewed Jonathan as a rising star within the church now saw him as a symbol of reckless behavior, tarnishing his image and the credibility of his family. Joel and Victoria Osteen, who have spent years building the church's global presence, were suddenly thrust into a difficult position. They were forced to defend their son and their ministry, explaining to the public that Jonathan's actions were out of character. However, this did little to silence the critics, and many questioned whether the Osteen family had been living up to the high moral standards they had long espoused. The burden of living in the public eye, combined with the fallout from Jonathan's actions, seemed to have taken a heavy toll on the Osteen family, especially on Jonathan himself. More controversy. Accusations of satanic symbolism. As if the car crash and lawsuit weren't enough, Jonathan and his parents found themselves embroiled in yet another controversy. After a photo from Jonathan's University of Texas graduation surfaced on social media, the Osteen family was accused of promoting satanic practices. The photo, which showed Jonathan and his parents making the hook 'em horns gesture, a well-known symbol associated with the university's mascot, sparked outrage among some social media users. To many, the hand gesture resembled the devil's horns, a sign often associated with Satanism, especially in popular culture. The backlash was immediate, with critics questioning why a family of preachers would be seen publicly making such a controversial gesture. Some followers of Lakewood Church expressed confusion and concern, worried that the Osteen family was inadvertently endorsing a symbol that clashed with their Christian values. In response to the controversy, the Osteen family quickly issued a statement clarifying the situation. They explained that the gesture was a long-standing tradition at the University of Texas and was not meant to represent anything sinister. The hook 'em horns sign, they explained, was a symbol of school pride, not an endorsement of any occult practices. Despite their explanation, the damage to their reputation was done, and the public continued to question their motives and understanding of cultural symbols. The burden of living in the spotlight. Growing up in the public eye has its challenges, especially when your every move is scrutinized by millions of people. For Jonathan Osteen, the pressure to live up to the legacy of his father while also charting his own path has been an overwhelming burden. From the very beginning, he has been under the microscope, expected to succeed, to lead, and to embody the values his family preaches. Yet, in the midst of personal struggles and controversies, Jonathan has been forced to confront the weight of those expectations and the intense public scrutiny that accompanies his position. As the son of one of the most influential figures in modern Christianity, Jonathan was always bound to face criticism, but the tragic events of the past few years have exposed the vulnerabilities of the Osteen family. His involvement in a serious car accident, followed by a controversial lawsuit and the backlash from public controversies, has left Jonathan grappling with his role in both his family and his faith community. The future of Jonathan Osteen and Lakewood Church. The question remains, what does the future hold for Jonathan Osteen and Lakewood Church? Will Jonathan ever regain the trust and respect he once had in the eyes of his congregation and the wider Christian community? How will his parents, Joel and Victoria, navigate the fallout from these controversies? The Osteen family has always been seen as a beacon of hope and leadership in the world of ministry, but these recent events have raised doubts and questions about their integrity and moral compass. As Jonathan continues to navigate this tumultuous period in his life, it is clear that he faces a difficult journey ahead. Whether or not he can rebuild his reputation and regain his position within Lakewood Church will depend on how he handles the personal and professional challenges that lie ahead. One thing is certain: Jonathan Osteen's story is far from over. and the world will be watching closely to see how he rises from this tragedy and what role he will ultimately play in the future of his family's ministry. A legacy built on faith and ambition. Lakewood Church, founded in 1959 by Jonathan's grandparents, John and Dodie Osteen, began as a small congregation in an abandoned feed store. Over time, under the leadership of John Osteen, the church expanded, reaching more people and growing steadily. However, the true turning point came after John Osteen's passing in 1999, when his son, Joel Osteen, took over the reins of leadership. At the time, Joel was not prepared to lead the church. In fact, he had very little formal theological training and had never even dreamed of becoming a preacher. His initial role in the church was behind the scenes, working as a television producer. In 1982, he left his studies at Oral Roberts University to join his father's staff, never anticipating that one day he would be thrust into the spotlight as the senior pastor. However, when his father fell ill and could no longer continue preaching, Joel delivered his first sermon at Lakewood Church. His father listened to the sermon from his hospital bed, and Joel's ability to lead and inspire during that time left a profound impact on both his father and the church community. Joel's unexpected step into the pulpit was not only a moment of divine revelation, but also the beginning of Lakewood Church's rise to prominence. Under Joel's leadership, the church moved from its original location to the former Compaq Center in Houston, Texas, in 2005. The transition was costly. $100 million was spent to renovate the space. But it proved to be a wise investment, as the church began drawing tens of thousands of attendees weekly and reached millions of viewers through television broadcasts. By 2016, Lakewood Church's attendance had reached over 50,000 people, making it one of the largest congregations in the United States. Its televised services were broadcast to over 100 countries, turning Joel Osteen into a household name and a central figure in the rise of megachurches. Despite the success, however, Joel's rise to prominence came with its own set of controversies, many of which would later affect his son Jonathan. Jonathan Osteen. The weight of a legacy. Jonathan Osteen's life has been anything but ordinary. As the son of one of the most famous preachers in the world, he has always been in the public eye. From a young age, he was exposed to the pressures of living up to his father's reputation and the expectations of the church's vast congregation. Yet, while Jonathan has largely embraced his role within the family ministry, he has also carved out his own path. One of Jonathan's primary contributions to Lakewood Church has been his involvement in its music ministry. Alongside his sister Alexandra, Jonathan formed part of the church's worship band, where he frequently led worship and played contemporary Christian music. His natural musical talent and magnetic personality made him a rising star in the gospel community. Over the years, Jonathan and Alexandra have become integral parts of the church's annual events, such as America's Night of Hope, where Jonathan has helped lead worship for crowds as large as 45,000 people. Despite his musical achievements, Jonathan was still often seen as the heir to Lakewood Church's leadership. In 2019, he delivered his first sermon on Father's Day, marking the beginning of his public ministry. His sermon was highly anticipated, with many comparing him to his father, Joel, whose teachings have had a profound impact on millions around the world. As Jonathan began to speak more frequently at events like Night of Hope, many wondered whether he would eventually follow in his father's footsteps as the next senior pastor of Lakewood Church. However, as Jonathan rose in prominence, he found himself increasingly weighed down by the expectations and pressures that came with his position. His personal life, already closely scrutinized by the public, began to unravel in a very public way. The tragic lawsuit. A moment of recklessness. In 2016, Jonathan Osteen found himself involved in a tragic car crash that would change his life and reputation forever. The incident occurred on State Highway 35 in Texas, when Jonathan rear-ended another vehicle, causing a collision that sent the victims, Tony Tran and Ki Vu, to the hospital. At first glance, the accident appeared to be a simple traffic mishap. However, as details began to emerge, the situation quickly became more complicated. According to the lawsuit filed by the victims, the crash was not a mere accident. It was the result of Jonathan's negligence. Tran and Vu claimed that Jonathan had been distracted at the time of the collision, allegedly listening to music and texting on his phone while driving. Additionally, the victims stated that Jonathan appeared fatigued and made no effort to avoid the crash. They pointed out that there were no skid marks at the scene, suggesting that Jonathan had failed to even attempt to stop before the collision occurred. The lawsuit, which sought over $1 million in damages, accused Jonathan of gross negligence. The plaintiffs argued that Jonathan's actions had caused them significant physical and emotional pain, as well as financial hardship. The legal battle quickly escalated, and the media began to scrutinize Jonathan's character and the upbringing he had received from his parents, Joel and Victoria Osteen. Adding to the controversy, Tran and Vu included Joel and Victoria in the lawsuit, claiming that Jonathan had been acting on behalf of Lakewood Church at the time of the crash. Although Joel and Victoria filed notices to have themselves removed from the suit, the damage had already been done. The public outcry was swift, with many questioning Jonathan's morals and whether his behavior reflected the values taught by his family and their church. The social media backlash. A family in the spotlight. The car crash lawsuit was not the only controversy that the Osteen family faced. In fact, their every move has been closely followed by the media, and even innocent actions have been misinterpreted and criticized. One such incident occurred when Jonathan and his parents, Joel and Victoria, were photographed at Jonathan's graduation from the University of Texas. In the images, the family was seen making the "hook 'em horns" gesture, a symbol associated with the university's mascot, the longhorn steer. However, the gesture was quickly misinterpreted by many as a sign of the devil's horns, a symbol commonly associated with satanic practices. Social media users erupted in outrage, accusing the Osteen family of promoting devil worship. Critics demanded an explanation for why the family would make such a controversial gesture in public, especially considering their prominent religious position. Despite the uproar, the Osteens explained that the hand gesture was simply a tradition at the University of Texas and had no satanic connotations. While many supporters accepted the explanation, others continued to criticize the family for what they perceived as a public display of insensitivity. The incident highlighted the ongoing scrutiny faced by the Osteen family, as they were constantly under a microscope, with their every action analyzed and often misinterpreted. The controversies surrounding Joel Osteen's ministry. Jonathan's legal troubles and public controversies are merely the latest in a long line of challenges faced by his family's ministry. Joel Osteen, the senior pastor of Lakewood Church, has long been a figure of both admiration and criticism. One of the most consistent sources of contention regarding Joel's teachings is his association with the prosperity gospel, a controversial belief that financial success and physical well-being are signs of God's favor. Critics have argued that prosperity gospel promotes a materialistic interpretation of Christianity, focusing on wealth and success rather than the teachings of Jesus Christ. This criticism has been amplified by Joel's lavish lifestyle, which includes a 17,000 square foot mansion in the affluent River Oaks neighborhood of Houston. Although Joel has claimed that he does not draw a salary from Lakewood Church and instead relies on income from his book sales, many have questioned the legitimacy of this claim, given his luxurious lifestyle. The controversies surrounding the Osteen family's finances took a darker turn during the COVID-19 pandemic. Lakewood Church received $4.4 million in federal Paycheck Protection Program funds, intended to help small businesses struggling during the pandemic. While the church defended its decision, stating that the funds were used to pay employees, critics argued that a church with such significant resources should not have taken government aid intended for struggling businesses. This incident only added to the ongoing criticism of the Osteen family's wealth and their ministry's focus on financial prosperity. Conclusion: the future of Jonathan Osteen and Lakewood Church. Jonathan Osteen's journey has been one of great highs and painful lows. As the son of Joel Osteen, he has been thrust into the spotlight from an early age, expected to follow in his father's footsteps as a leader in the world of megachurches. However, the pressures of living up to such high expectations, combined with personal struggles and public controversies, have made Jonathan's path a challenging one. While he continues to contribute to Lakewood Church's music ministry, Jonathan's future in the public eye remains uncertain. His involvement in a highly publicized lawsuit, coupled with the ongoing scrutiny of his family's lifestyle and teachings, has left a significant stain on the Osteen family's reputation. Whether Jonathan will continue to play a prominent role in the church or eventually step out of the limelight remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the road ahead for Jonathan Osteen is far from easy.